Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Ratchet and Wrench webcast. Our topic today is how maximizing a shop management software can pay you back in more than just cash. And it's sponsored by TechMetric. I'm Matt Hudson with Endeavor's Vehicle Repair Group. And to begin, I'll explain how you can participate in today's presentation. If you have any technical difficulties during the session, just type your issue into the Ask a Question box that you see there, and a member of our team will assist you. You can also click on the question mark help button in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Additionally, you can use that same question box to ask questions during today's event. We'll answer as many as we can as possible during the Q&A session that follows the main presentation, but feel free to send those questions at any time. To do so, just type that question into that Ask a Question box and hit send. Be aware that today's session is being recorded and that will be available on the Ratchet and Wrench website within the next week. You'll be notified via email when that archive is available. And without further ado, let's meet today's speaker. John Phelps is the Director of Channel Partnerships for TechMetric. He has 16 years of experience in the automotive industry and has held various positions such as Fixed Operations Director, Income Development Consultant for Service Shops, National Service Advisor Trainer, and he's currently with TechMetric to bring new opportunities to independent repair shops with a unique approach to customer care. And with that, John, I think we'll dive right in with kind of a broad question, just getting the basics down. What are some of the non-monetary benefits of using shop management software in your business?
No, that's a good question, because a lot of times we think of it as strictly money. You know, how much does it cost and how much is it going to make me, or one or the other, or a combination of the two. But when you think about what's not monetary and how that benefits you, three big words really come to mind, and they can be broken down a number of ways. But number one, time; two, energy; and three is information. It's really what you do with those three things that are going to end up paying you back regardless, right? It's the time, it's the energy that you invest in the time that you have, and the information that you use to better prepare yourself, your shop, your business, whatever the case may be, in order to bring on growth or streamline processes. And really kind of the derivatives of the time, energy, and information is the efficiency that it gives you, right? How much more efficient can you operate? How much more flexible can you be in your business? Are you stuck to a desk? Are you stuck to your phone? Can you operate wherever you need to operate in the way that you need to operate? Go all the way down the line and think about it with your service writers, your technicians, but all the way to your customers, and think about the transparency that it provides. How more with as open as we can be with our customers, with our employees, it allows us to just operate at that next level and be seen as a next level shop, and really allows us to make informed decisions, right? So how do we get more time? How do we invest more energy, and how do we gather that information? Well, a couple of the other things that you can get from a shop management system is record keeping, right? The traditional way is good old fashioned pen and paper, handwriting repair orders. You may record those in some sort of electronic database, maybe an Excel spreadsheet, but is that your actual shop management system? And if it's not, well, what are you doing with those records after that customer leaves, right? When you have a centralized database, an actual shop management system, it allows you to store your customer information, that phone number, that email, their address, if you wanted to mail them something. What have they done on that vehicle in the past? What's their RO history? What have they not done? Right? What's their declined work? And how can you refer back to that at the click of a button, at the drop of a hat, to make it that much quicker? Because you surely don't want to recommend them brakes if they just did those, or recommend them another maintenance item if they just did that 6 months prior. Having that information at your disposal really helps. And you can take it a step further and say, well, what did their car look like last time it was there, right? A lot of us try to rely on our memory, and I don't know about you, I like to write things down. I kind of need to write things down a time or two to make sure that I'm up on everything. But what did that vehicle's health inspection look like? What did that multi-point look like in the past? Do you have access to the historical digital vehicle inspections if you've got those in your shop management system? Or what about reporting wise? Right? How often and how many times do we have to sit there and think about what we did last month and crunch all of the numbers and look at it from a number of different angles? And is it sales? Is it gross profit? Is it net profit? How can we streamline that process? And when you have reporting, You can easily look back at previous time periods, whether it be a previous specific day, a time frame, this month over last month, this year over last year. And you can compare all that, and it allows you to see where your business is headed, right? Can you forecast based on those trends? What is in the cyclical business that we're in? What does May look like traditionally, right? April may be a fantastic month. May not be as great in your business. You can look back and see what are those trends and how does my business perform throughout the year, and where can I expect that we're going to be a little bit busier. And with all of that, that's that information. That's that you can gather right there at your fingertips. But how much more organized does something like that make you? Right? We've all been in it. We've seen it. There's shops that just have banker boxes to the ceiling, right? And if you open up another closet, there's more banker boxes, and they're labeled, and maybe they're alphabetical, maybe they're time frame labeled. Either way, can you get rid of the paperwork? Now, we see shops that really go full on paperless, and we're not saying that you have to do something like that, but how much more organized do you feel when you don't have to have all of those papers? And if a gust of wind comes through, well, now I've got to search a little bit harder to find that, because whether that be the quote, the estimate, the part that I wrote down on a Post-it that got blown away, or whether that be historical repair orders, it just helps you feel more organized. And when you're more organized and you're presenting as such, well, now it's that professionalism piece, right? Your customers will see you as a more professional business, a more professional establishment, and it shows your customers that you're willing to put your best foot forward and be more technologically advanced. And let's face it, that's just more attractive to consumers nowadays, to walk into a shop and feel like they've walked into a business that's really bracing just the day and age and just the way that that things are done here in 2023.
Yeah, the potential to take all that space that's being taken up by bankers' boxes and put it on your desktop, or and then easier to back up as well. It's all about how you use that data. And speaking of use that data, I mean, it's talking about shop management software and how it can improve the overall efficiency and productivity. Tell me about some of those KPIs that shops can.
You know, it's one of those things to where I like to peel that onion back a little bit and think about where our time is spent. And I mean spent, not invested, but where is our time spent in any given day? You can think about it on a day, a week, a month. But if you want to improve your overall efficiency and productivity, you kind of have to know where you sit right now. And studies have been done in seeing where is time spent. And if you were to log every hour of your day, I'm not saying that you should do that, could you put it in a category? And the categories that we typically see in service shops, the 4 functions of a service shop is sales, production, administration, and then classified as leadership, but it's basically working to improve your business. And if you were to look back at your day, maybe it's 10 hours, maybe it's 15 hours, but either way, if you were to categorize that, where does everything fall, right? Sales is the one-on-one time you're working with your customer, whether at write-up, whether it be on the estimate, whether that be at pickup, to better improve that customer's experience and get a yes on how to repair, or on what they need to repair their vehicle, whether that be maintenance or a full-on overhaul or repair. Either way, the time that you spend one-on-one with that customer is in that sales function. Well, the production function that's what happens after it's already sold. That's where the technicians come into play. They've got to actually produce the work that gets sold, whether that's an oil change and an air filter, or again, an engine replacement. It does have to get produced. However, what they're producing is what's the outcome of that sales function. 3 is administration. All of the quote unquote paperwork, and maybe it's the electronic paperwork or maybe it's physical paperwork, but all of the things that we have to do or feel like we have to do to keep up on the admin side. And then 3 is that leadership or that business growth portion. And if you really were to categorize every hour of the day, I bet we'd be surprised to find that the majority of our day, 60 to 70%, is spent not making any money. 2 of these 4 functions are actually direct income producing functions. The first of which is sales, right? It's the one-on-one time that we're working to get a yes from our customer, show them what their vehicle needs, get them to the point where they know they need it and say yes, so that we can get it produced. What a lot of people find surprising is the production of it is really only producing what was already sold. So you're not making extra money, you're securing the money that you've already made. The admin side is making sure that it gets billed out properly and everything's, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Make sure nothing can happen when the customer comes in later on and said, I didn't approve all of that. And the other income producing portion is that growth. How are you working to improve your business? Well, if we were to ask ourselves, where does our time get spent, is probably in the administration side and then in the production side. And very little of it gets spent working on the sales portion and working on the growth of the business portion. And the old cliche saying that I like to say is, we let busyness get in the way of business. We hear it all the time. Shop owners are running around like they're chicken with their head cut off, and they're running around putting out fires. That's one of my least favorite phrases is, man, I've just been putting out fires all day. Well, if you're, instead of putting out fires, why don't we find the person with the match? And maybe it's an actual person bogging down the process, or maybe it's a step in the process itself. But can you look into a shop management system and find out where those bottlenecks are? Do you know what the average estimate of your shop is? Are we estimating them properly? Are we presenting them to the customers properly? What about technician efficiency? Do we know how many hours we've sold versus how many hours they spent on it? Is the guy taking four cigarette breaks per oil change and he doesn't even smoke, right? It's one of those to where we're spending entirely too much time in the production side of things, not being as efficient. What about our close ratios? Do we know what's the most effective closing ratio that we have? Is it when we call the customer? Do we have it when we text the customer, when we email them, when they're waiting, when they're drop-offs? All of those things really help save you steps. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Can we help save steps, right? How often is it that we pick up the phone to call a customer? We're trying to get them to approve maybe a simple brake job, maybe some simple maintenance. They don't answer. So they call us back, and we're tied up with another customer. They leave a message. We call them back, and they're busy, and they don't answer. And all of a sudden, it's 4:30. The customer shows up thinking their car's done, but we never actually got an approval on it in the first place. We really haven't done anything over and above what maybe an oil change that they came in for, because their vehicle needs further attention. Well, do you have the ability to text your customers from your system? Do you have the ability to email your customers and get that passive approval, meaning they don't have to pick up the phone and call you back to get the approval done? They can do that all from the comfort of their phone. Well, what about the physical steps, right? How many clicks have to happen? How many times does a service advisor have to go back to the shop and the technician have to come up to the front counter and they have to go back and forth time and time again, walking around, when all of that can be taken care of in an effective shop management system, right? There's automated communications. You've got built-in integrations with internal notes, even communication platforms that can be integrated right inside of it that allows you these notifications that pop up and keep everybody on the same page. It consolidates things that brings it all together, right? We see time and time again shops that have 4 or 5 different systems that they've got to go back and forth in between just to get the same answer. If they just had it all consolidated, it would be built right in. So if you want to talk about improving efficiency, where are your bottlenecks, right? How many different programs, how many different softwares do you use? And do you have a solution that can really bring as many of those into one as possible, right? Built-in labor guides, parts integrations, texting, text to pay, something that allows you to even collect payment via text messages, all with a user interface that streamlines it for you, right? Reduces the amount of clicks, reduces the amount of screens that you have to have open, just makes it as easy as possible for everybody involved in your shop, from techs, advisors, even the customers that you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah, so I suppose when you're alleviating bottlenecks, that's also gonna, your service writers might have more time to communicate with customers, establish a rapport, which is super important in this business, as you know. So talk about that customer service aspect a bit. In what ways can the shop management software help in that regard?
I'll tell you what, it's one of those things to where I've seen it across the industry, whether it be on the independent side or even on the dealership side of things, is a lot of times we take for granted our customers as a whole, meaning we think they need us more than we need them. And the question I like to ask is, what would we have if we didn't have our customers? The answer is different jobs, right? We'd have to do something different for a living because we wouldn't be able to rely on taking care of those customers. Well, when you look at why customers choose you in the first place, whether it be subconscious or not, they're making a decision based off really one of 4 reasons: comfort, convenience, loyalty, or trust. It doesn't matter if they're choosing a grocery store, a barber shop, a bank, or an auto shop. something goes through their mind. And one of those four things, if not all four of those, have to check certain boxes for a customer to choose our auto repair shop in the first place. So when we think about what it is that we do on a daily basis and how that can reach the customer to really improve their customer service, well, quite frankly, that should be the basis of any process that we develop, shouldn't it? I mean, the experience is what's going to get them coming back. So how can we make it more comfortable? Well, we can reach customers where they are more comfortable. And I don't mean necessarily in a comfortable Barker lounger in a reclining chair that's in your waiting room. Maybe you have that type of physical comfort, but where is a customer more comfortable speaking nowadays? Well, the harsh reality is on their phone, and usually it's not even talking, it's via some sort of texting application, again, whether it's text or even email for that matter. And I hear shops all the time, my customers don't like to text. And, my kind of tongue-in-cheek response is, why don't you go pull up at a stoplight, look to your left and right and see what your people are doing, right? Customers all over the place are just looking at their phone. And I don't know if they're all texting at that moment, but a phone is in their face. So where are they more comfortable interacting with businesses? Majority of them are going to be more comfortable interacting via some sort of communication platform that's not actually talking on the phone. Studies actually show that 91% of text messages sent are opened in under 3 minutes. If we were to take a poll of everybody on this webinar, on this webcast, and say how many unread emails and how many missed calls and unchecked voicemails do we have collectively, that number would probably have a comma or two commas in it, right? It's going to be rather large. Whereas how many unread text messages, that typically is a much smaller number. We can reach customers where they're most comfortable. And when they're more comfortable, it's more convenient for them to do business with us. Now, that may be the hours that you're open. That may be the fact that they don't have to pick up the phone and they don't have to call you, right? You can communicate with them via text, via email, letting them know what their vehicle looks like, sending them the estimate, or just shooting them a note saying, hey, we're waiting on some parts. It's actually going to be 5 as opposed to 3 o'clock like we originally thought. All of that drives that customer experience. And that's the direct impact on them, right? That's how you're working with your customers. Well, what about the efficiencies that we just talked about? When the shop's more efficient, that customer's more satisfied. There is a time aspect to this, whether we want to believe it or not. It's not 30 minutes or it's free, right? We're not saying that you have to do a 5-minute oil change, but when you're efficient with what you do, and efficiency means that the customer doesn't feel like you're wasting time, right? Do you have ways to order parts without having to pick up the phone and call and delay? Well, what if you could order all your parts with one click? Does that increase your efficiency? And if it increases your efficiency, does that help your customer satisfaction scores, right? Does that look better on a Google review? Customers nowadays probably aren't going to go into a shop or any business or any establishment for that matter if they don't have positive Google reviews. They may not have a Google presence, but what if they had negative Google reviews? That's probably very much going to have a negative impact on how many customers come to them in the first place, much less come back to them a second time around. So when we think about software, hopefully you have a software that thinks all the way through to that customer interaction. Because if all you have is a software for your own shop and it doesn't cater to your customers and their experience, probably missing the target on that. So we want to think all the way through to that experience that customer's having with you, because that's where you're going to see those returns, monetary and non-monetary.
Magazine, we talk often about the importance of Google reviews, and it doesn't always seem to seep in with all shop owners, but I appreciate you explaining that sort of domino effect from customer service is great, customers will leave a good review, and then more customers are going to see your those reviews online and come into your shop. So that's a great way to explain it. Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty of shop management software and some of the specific features that shop managers, shop owners want to look for that can provide the most value to your business.
It's one of those things to where it's not a one size fits all. The analogy I like to use is like a treadmill, right? A treadmill works great as a clothes hanger, but if you actually want to lose weight with it to get more in shape, you might want to use it as an actual treadmill. And so when I say it's not a one size fits all, it's not one feature that applies to absolutely everybody. You've got to understand your own business and know what it is you're trying to get out of your business, right? Are you trying to be more consistent? Are you trying to have the same way every day, every time? Are you trying to be more profitable? Are you just trying to make more money? Are you trying to grow from 1 shop to 2 shops to 3 shops? Or are you trying to attract new customers, new employees, retain your customers? And when you think about the features that start to check those boxes, number one is it a cloud-based system? A cloud-based system has a large impact on how you operate on a daily basis. How do you access it? What's the dependability of a system like that? We've all seen it, right? Whether you've worked in a shop or just visited a shop, you've walked in and the server's been down and it hasn't been a good day. Maybe it's been down for more than a day. Maybe something's glitching and not working right. Maybe our power's out. And if our power's out, we're completely shut down. Well, that's not the case with a cloud-based system. If I have a cell phone and any type of satellite in the sky that gives me cell signal or Wi-Fi, well, I can operate on a cloud-based system. I can have multiple shops and I can be at one while checking on the other. It allows me the flexibility to access it absolutely anywhere. And it doesn't tie me to a desk. It doesn't tie me directly to that one computer, that one license that I have. It offers me that flexibility. So that's one of those key features that you want to look for. Well, what about digital vehicle inspection? You know, still in 2023, roughly 25 to 30% of all shops out there are using any type of digital vehicle inspection. And those that aren't, well, quite frankly, are they really even doing a multi-point? Are they grabbing that carbon copy out of the cardboard box? Are they checking all the boxes? Are they tearing it off and letting the customer get their yellow copy, their pink copy, whichever copy you want them to have? Well, when we have a digital vehicle inspection, number one, hopefully you've got something that can add pictures, add videos to it, show the customer what it is that their car looks like. That increases that transparency. It gives them information. And when they have the information, well, they're more likely to say yes to it. I don't like spending money when I don't know what I'm getting, right? Should we really expect a customer to say yes to a $1,000 repair if they don't actually know what it is they're getting for the $1,000? Probably not. But when you have a DVI, you can send pictures, you can send videos, you can access it in a cloud-based environment on a cell phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, on a desktop. It allows your technicians to be more mobile. What about integrations? We've already said the word consolidation. That's one of the biggest features or biggest reasons that we hear shop owners switching over to TechMetric, quite frankly, is consolidation. I'm able to access everything I need from right here. I don't have to have another DVI. I don't have to, open up 4 different tabs for parts. We have 7 parts integrations that allows you to access hundreds of vendors all from within the system itself, right? So being cloud-based, having DVI, there's some of those, maybe not as pinpoint, like the intuitive nature of it, the ease of use, being able to look at it and kind of start to understand how the system works, right? The performance of it. Does it work the way a shop management system should work? And not everybody necessarily uses iPhones. A lot of people have smartphones, however, and I like to, equate this to Steve Jobs' mentality is I want to make a product that's so intuitive that you don't need an owner's manual. Well, when you look at a intuitive system, you can see how to create a repair order. If you want to look at customer history, well, it's kind of right there. You can just scroll down and you can see the customer's history. It says this was approved. It says this was declined. So having those features is really where it starts to, let the rubber meet the road, to use a, corny car analogy, on what it is that allows a shop to really gain that edge and start to improve and see the growth that they would like to see.
That consolidation factor has got to be a huge item of interest to shop owners. You described before shops that maybe have been operating a long time and they have 3, 4, 5 different processes they're going through for, a certain job or what have you. So consolidation is just super important, especially because the auto repair is such a competitive industry. I'm sure most viewers out there have 1, 2, 3 different competitors right in their marketplace, maybe on the same business park or what have you. But describe how, shop management software can kind of give you the edge over some of those folks that are across the street.
No, you're right. I've even seen it to where they're next door. Certain states, they have like Auto Row, right? To where there's a strip center with 5 or 6 different auto shops literally next door to each other, to where they all share a wall. So, how do you stay in front? That's That's one of those critical questions. And it's going to be a continuing question. There's never a final answer to it because technology and things are going to change. Well, we asked that, we were actually having conversations and in kind of a panel of people. And it was really for an article to be written. And they were asking some questions about our business and our business model and how we approach things. And we started just telling them some of the features that you and I have already talked about, Matt, and that, digital vehicle inspection and texting and having everything, accessible on your phone. And it was 9 people, and every single one of them said, I didn't know that was even an option, right? The shop that I go to has never done anything like that. I drop the car off. I don't hear anything. I've got to call them. When I do, they act like they were about to call me, and, they don't really have any information. And so, being able to reach your customers and speak directly, show them an experience that they probably haven't seen before. And the unfortunate thing is, it's because as a shop, a lot of those are actually limited. They don't have the resources at their disposal in order to show them that experience, right? So just from our own stats, over 80% of our new shops that sign up come from a server-based system. And I'm not saying that a server-based system doesn't allow them the ability to run their shop, but are there resources, are there features that they're missing out on because of the limitations of that system? Well, we still see 15% of our new shops come from pen and paper, good old fashioned, write it down, log it later. And that's over 95% of our new shops that sign up every single month come from either server-based or pen and paper. And that means that they may not have, or absolutely do not have, the technology that customers tend to expect nowadays. I mean, you can order anything you want food-wise from your phone, walk into a fast casual dining place, pick it up off a rack, and you never really had to talk to anybody, right? How many of us have just done online ordering? Mother's Day's this weekend, right? So we're going to online order something, never have to go to a store, never have to actually shop. We just click order and let's go. And people have become accustomed to this type of technology and this type of experience that really caters to their convenience, right? And so that alone allows them to get ahead of those their competitors. What are people doing in the industry? What are people not doing in the industry? And in catering to that customer's experience that we talked about a little bit earlier, I mean, something as simple as knowing what the customer's done in the past. If they've been with you before, maybe they haven't. Well, we have Carfax integration built right in. So if you're able to actually click on it and see what's been done based on the Carfax, it should give you the leg up of knowing a little bit about that customer's history so that you're not shooting blind. You're not trying to tell them that they need certain maintenance items if they've already done those, especially if they've done them at your shop before, because then it just looks like we're trying to sell them something they don't need, which never ends up very good for anybody involved.
Yeah, that is a very handy tool. I definitely know about that. Let's talk about some of the, run down some challenges that shops may face. There's that saying that you don't know what you don't know. So tell me about some of the common challenges that businesses face when implementing shop management software, and then maybe just about some solutions there.
Yeah, I mean, none of these are going to come as any surprise to anybody, right? I mean, one of the biggest challenges of change is change. I mean, change is hard, regardless of what it is. I mean, whether you're, moving your family, your kid's school, whatever the case may be, changing a shop management system seems like a much smaller undertaking than something like that. But it's really just that fear of the unknown. I'm not sure what to expect, to your point, right? You don't know what you don't know. Therefore, it's unknown. And there's that fear of the unknown. But really is, if you made that decision to improve your business, right? You make a change for your business. Hopefully, what we can remember is that a tough day or a couple of tough days doesn't stop you from really growing and improving your business, your life, your family's life, your employees' lives for that matter. Just because, I don't really want to go, I don't want to face that first couple of days. We all hear it every January. Gym memberships take a spike, right? Everybody's got a New Year's resolution and they all want to start working out, eat healthier, and do better for themselves. And then by the time February, March come around, especially now here that we are in May, that's probably fallen off. Why? Because it's a change in routine, and change is hard, and I don't really want to go, and my body's sore, and I'm a little bit tired from it. Well, when you're changing a shop management system, sure, I'm not going to say it's not hard, but Can it be mitigated by the ease of use, the intuitiveness of it? And we hear it time and time again. Yeah, day one can be tough. Day two, guess what? Not as bad. And by day 3, 4, and 5, things have started to fall into place and you're able to train the person next to you. So yeah, it may be a little bit tough, but it's kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid. Knowing what it is that you need to do for your business, for your family, for your employees, that can help you get through a couple of days as opposed to preventing your business from growing. Now, change aside, we hear the other one. I don't have time. Well, time is a tricky thing, right? It's a finite amount. We don't get more of it. However, we can choose to either spend our time or we can choose to invest our time. Now, those two words kind of get interchangeable, at least when we use them, but they really have very different meanings. If you spend your time, you're right. You never got it back. I spent time doing this. Well, if you invested your time, well, all of a sudden you start to see that return. You invest your time in the beginning in learning a new shop management system. And that's the thing. We don't have time to change. Well, the change in and of itself is very, very simple. However, learning this new system is where that time comes into play. When a learning curve is shorter than you expect, you're going to start to see that return a little bit quicker. And, you know, one of my favorite sayings, and it really came out of I don't say a negative thing, but people say, I don't want to train my people because what if I train them and they leave? Well, what if you don't train them and they stay, right? Whether that be a technician or a service advisor, we have to invest that time early so that we can see that return. If all you see is as an expense of your time, you're right. You're probably not going to see that return. But when you see it as an investment for the future of your business, now that pill becomes a little bit easier to swallow, right? You see that you're going to gain that return. You're going to gain efficiency. Well, this takes longer, but it saves you time in the long run. Now you start to see that that's absolutely worth it. And the third one I'll point out is buy-in. Right? We see it time and time again. A shop owner makes a decision to go ahead and switch shop management systems. Well, what if they've got a team that wasn't fully bought in? They feel like it's being forced upon them. And in that case, they're less likely to adapt. So keep them involved in the decision, at least for the feedback portion. I worked for a company in the past, and the owner of the company said, this is a democracy. I just hold 51% of the vote, meaning he wanted to hear from everybody. He wanted that feedback. But at the end of the day, if you're going to make a decision to better the business, then it's a business decision. In fact, there's a customer of ours, and we love what he did. He was telling us about this to where he told his team ahead of time. He goes, look, we are going to change shop management systems. It's the wave of the future. It's what we need to do to keep up with the times, but really get ahead of the times as well. Now, what he did after that point, as opposed to just shoving it down their throats, is he narrowed it down to 2 different softwares for his team to choose from, doing demos with both, sometimes multiple demos. And at the end of the day, the decision to change was already made. The decision on what to change to, that's where his team came into play. So having that team's buy-in, they don't feel like it was forced upon them. They don't feel like they were blindsided with that decision. That's where you start to gain that buy-in. And it just makes that transition so much easier when they have ownership of the decision-making process.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that was a good case study. I was curious, could I press you for a few more case studies of how, shops are using and benefiting from the software?
Absolutely. I mean, we see it time and time again, right? You know what? I love the true life stories of how you use this, what this did to your business. And there's the generic ones. Well, y'all help me grow. Just last week, and I wish I could make this up, but I'm not that creative. But just last week, we had a guy that was on my team that was in Western New York, and he was out there with one of our partnerships, and they went into a shop that's already using TechMetric just to check on things. Hey, I'm in the area, see how things are going. Just wanted to see, it looks like they had signed up a little over a month prior. And what he said was that his revenue and car count are double what they were from the same month last year. Now, this isn't a new shop that's in that growth pattern, right? This is a shop that's been around for 25 years. Now, we honestly don't care to take the credit. That's a businessman, businesswoman making the decision for their business and running things the way that they see fit. We don't need the credit for it. Now, we're fortunate enough that we do have a lot of users that are going to say that y'all helped me get to that point, in which case we love to hear that. he does credit Techmetric specifically, but inside of that was that DVI. That point that I brought up earlier was DVIs were one of the big things for that change, right? Seeing the growth that he's been able to see within his shops. This is a record for the 25 years that he's been in business. And he said he's already booked out for 2 solid weeks, that he's never had that problem before. Yeah, he's been profitable. And yes, the business has been running in a good way that, he didn't see that it was a problem. However, now that he starts to see that growth and how making that change, investing that time and utilizing the resources that are now at his disposal, within just a month to 2, he's already reaching records that he hasn't had in a quarter century of doing business. Now, we also get to hear stories, whether it be at conferences or, we run into shops, they grow from 1 shop to 3 shops, right? Something that I was looking to grow, got in the business when I was a little bit younger, and I wanted to build an actual sustainable business model for myself. And that may be going from 1 to 2 shops, which is doubling, but maybe going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5. Those are the success stories that we love to hear as well. And a lot of that's because of what we see based on the growth numbers in something that we call ARO, average repair order. What are your average parts and labor sales per RO? Now, what we've typically seen after 90 days of doing business, shops has increased 17%. I did a smaller case study with one of the partnerships that I work with on a daily basis, and said, what are some of the shops that we've gained from this relationship? They're seeing increases of north of 25%. And when the average shop across the country, just the average everyday shop, is $250 to $325 per repair order. If you have a $300 ARO and you add 17%, that's adding over $50 for every car that you touch. And that's not selling things they don't need. That's showing the customer the value in what it is that you're bringing to them. And in which case, they're a lot happier to say yes to something like that, because they saw that the strut was leaking. You sent them a picture, you sent them a video, you pointed out the positives. They're more willing to say yes to what it is their vehicle needs, because they even see that as an investment, not just an expense. So those are some of those real life stories. And we're fortunate enough, we've got a pretty proud user base, and they like to speak up on our behalf too. I can't tell you the number of times that we've been at a show, a conference, or just an event, and have some sort of speaking opportunity, and somebody raises their hand and they tell their own story. And those are the things that we really love to hear, because, well, our best salespeople are the users of Techmetric, quite honestly, because they're the ones that can speak every day. You expect me to say the positives. I'll tell you the factual things that we've seen, but it's the users that really drive it home with their own success stories.
Yeah. You've spoken a lot about, gaining efficiencies, reducing waste, and that's, of course, very important in the physical products that shops are using. I was curious if you could go into some inventory and how shop management software can better help you manage that inventory and reduce waste there.
The funny thing with inventory is it doesn't have to be hard, right? A lot of times we look at inventory and we think about it as this big mammoth of a thing that we have to get our arms wrapped around. And really, when it boils down to what are you buying and what are you selling? And when you know those two things, do you have a report, specific reports for parts purchased and parts used? You can actually trim your inventory to your fast moving parts, because you know exactly what it is that you're selling. Now, you can also look at your parts purchase report and say, wow, I bought 12 of these, haven't really sold any in 6 months. I've used 2 in 6 months. That's taking up counter space. So that's just things that can get a little bit old, and not everything has a short shelf life like that. But you want to manage and have that inventory to where you don't have tens of thousands of dollars invested in things that you're not able to resell in a fast way. So, what are you buying? What are you selling? And you can stock specifically what you're using consistently, right? You can also take a look at your inventory and do some kind of some stock counts. You want to compare those with what you actually have on hand. Right? In our inventory model, you can actually put bin locations. So if you have everything labeled, okay, shelf 3, bin F, whatever the case is, whatever model you like to use, you can look at that and say, okay, what's my bin location? Let's go look. And it says I have 8. Lo and behold, I have 8. Or it says I have 7. why do I only have 5, right? And then from there, you can start to investigate a little bit further on are we actually using the inventory the way that we do? And one of the permissions that we actually have set inside is requiring parts to be billed out. So you can quote a part, but you've got to actually bill it out before the RO can close. That's one of those things where I didn't just quote it and I never actually put it on the ticket. It's going to flag you and say, hey, don't forget to bill this part out, relieve it from inventory so that you are reducing that wastage. And it may have actually gone on the car, but you have to have that accurate inventory in order to understand where everything is. Make it that much more intuitive for you to use and stay on top of that. So it allows you to actively manage your stocking levels. Are you able to do stock orders, right? Look at what's below your minimum threshold. Look at it by vendor, and then actually shop based on those part numbers, based on those vendors, and create a stock order. You don't have to pick up the phone and call 3 different places in order to do that. That's something that allows you to do it right there on your inventory screen. And if you have a parts professional, fantastic. You've got somebody that's their focus. But if you don't have that, well, we want to make it as easy as possible for whoever's responsibility it is, because somebody's got to do it. So you want to see, what's my minimum threshold? I need to have 5 on hand. Well, once I get to 3, I can look at everything below minimum threshold, create a weekly stock order, maybe a daily one, however you run your business, and place that stock order through one of our parts integrations so that you don't have to pick up the phone and go to 5 or 6 different places. Now, once it's ordered, track where everything is. One of the biggest things we hear positive feedback on is the tracking of core charges. So you've taken out the alternator, the water pump. Well, you're entitled to a core charge, or at least a core refund, right? Well, can you track that in your system? Know that it's a part I need to return. Okay, I've returned it. Now I need to wait on my refund. Well, okay, now I've marked it as refund complete. Really complete that triangle of ordering. Maybe it's returning, getting that refund, whatever the case is. That allows you to stay on top of it and know what you've got on hand, but really know that, one, things aren't walking out the door, but especially with something like core charges, if you're entitled to that refund on that core charge, don't let it go to the scrapyard. Get it back to the vendor, the supplier that you purchased it from, and track all of that in your shop management system. That's where it really helps streamlining that inventory and what it is you have on hand. Making sure you know what you need to have on hand helps as well. But those are probably the biggest things we see when it comes to inventory on how that shop management system can help you out.
Yep. Great examples of streamlining the process. Let's jump to another area of the business, accounting and financial. Tell me about some opportunities to streamline processes there.
I don't know that if you were to poll a lot of shop owners, if they would have said, yeah, I'd love to open a shop just because of all the paperwork, right? I mean, that's probably not the main reason a lot of people decided to go into business for themselves, but it is, I don't want to say necessary evil, but it absolutely is necessary to have everything in order, right? It is, whether it's the reporting side of it, like we've already mentioned, but absolutely to have your accounting in order. So let's think about how some of the reports can help you out with that, right? Do you have an accounts payable report or accounts receivable report? You probably have an accountant. You might even have a separate accounting software, but the source of truth in a lot of cases is inside of that shop management system, because that's where things were billed out. That's where things were closed to AR. That's where you recorded that stock order with a PO number, so you know what what vendors, what suppliers you actually owe money to, whether it be ordering parts on an RO or even a sublet. You've got that in accounts payable. You've got that in accounts receivable, and it allows you to reconcile that with your accounting software so that you know that, one, you're not past due on any bills or invoices, and two, you don't have too many customers or even suppliers that are past due on paying you back on something. So yeah, you have an accounts receivable and accounts payable reports and looking at those on a regular basis. Well, what about the daily things, right? End of day reports. What is it that you're selling? What is it that you're selling with tires and batteries? Is it sales? Is it gross profit? Can you separate that out? Can you look at a single day? Can you look at a full week? Can you look at 3 Tuesdays ago, right? That reporting allows you to go back and say, what happened here? What are all these charges? we see it with an end-of-day report, but how about taxes? I know we just passed tax time, but do you have a way to see how many what taxes you owe? What have you collected? Whether that be on tires, whether that be on parts, all of these reports are there in a financial reporting section, and inside of TechMetric at least, to allow you to see where all these things are. And so when it comes to reconciling and paying taxes or just making sure that your books are in order, it's all right there. And being cloud-based is at the touch of a button. You can access it anywhere, right? You don't have to go in and run that run report and print it out and send it off. You can access it from anywhere at the click of a button. If you want to print it, fantastic. If you want to export it to a PDF or an Excel file, you can certainly do that as well. Makes it that much easier to stay on top of all of the fun accounting style paperwork that we all love to do.
Yep. Well, as any shop owner can probably tell you, it's not all about the tools you have, it's how you use it. And in this case with shop management software, we're talking about the data that comes from all of these processes and features that you talked about. Tell me about how shop owners and users of this management software can take that data and make good decisions about their business.
Well, and you kind of said a lot of it right there in the question in and of itself, right? Is how can we make data-driven decisions? Well, another old saying I like to say, if you give me bad data, I can make bad decisions all day long, right? If you want to make an actual business decision, well, we don't want to go off just gut and instinct. We want to go off factual information. How is my business performing? Right? I want to grow and I want to open up a second shop. Well, let's look back at the data and see if we can actually afford to do that, if it's actually sustainable. I like the old saying of, I'm losing $4 on every oil change. I need to sell more to make it profitable. Well, no, you're losing $4 on every oil change. Selling more is actually going to make you lose more money. And maybe it's something as simple as profitability. How profitable are you on certain jobs? Whether it's within your parts matrix, your labor rate, your labor markup, whether it's with your technicians, your advisors, all of these are built into the reports that you can filter down. You can filter it down based on the technician, based on the service writer, based on the vendor that you're buying parts from, based on your parts matrix as well. That allows you just more data at your disposal, and you can filter it to your own desire, right? That's what I mentioned earlier, is it's about how you utilize that. If you have the data in front of you, you can look at it to run your business. And having that data just allows you to make a better decision for it. We see it time and time again. Walk into shops or talking to shops, and I'll ask a couple of questions. And quite frankly, it gives me a look into how this shop operates. What's your average repair order, and how many cars do you work on in a week or in a month? And unfortunately, a lot of times it's, I don't really know. Or it's around this, or it's around that. And if you break it down to say, okay, 5 cars a day, okay, 10 cars a day, okay, you're working on 200 cars a month. What's your average repair order? I'm not real sure. Do you have access to get that in your shop management system? I think I do, but I honestly don't know where to go to look for it. Well, how do you know what part of your business has the opportunity, right? Is it in technician efficiency? Is it in profitability? Is it in profitability of labor, profitability in parts? Where is it in your business that really has the opportunity for growth? And having that data at your disposal is what allows you to make those decisions. And it allows you to do so in real time. We also see it to where I can't run this report till the end of the day because now it's a look back on how today went. Well, having true real-time data gives you the flexibility, number one, but the proactivity to say, I can fix this before it became a problem. I don't want to look back to yesterday and all the things that were broken and fix them for next time. I want to be able to fix them in real time so that they were never a problem in the first place, right? Shop owners can be at their other shop, or they can be away from their shop. The service writer can give them a call and say, hey, I need you to look at Mr. Smith's repair order with me. They can open it up. They can see it in real time. They can also see every car in their shop. We have a shop dashboard that says what status is every single car in. Why do we have 10 cars in work not started status or parts to be ordered status? You want to look at that in terms of car count. You can look at the same report in terms of labor hours. You can look at the same report in terms of sales dollars. I want to know how many cars, or I want to know how many dollars are stuck in a certain status. That's built in right there as well. Give yourself a real-time look into your business so that it doesn't become a problem. You can correct it in real time. And at the end of the day, if you want to just inspect what you expect, see if your advisors, if your technicians are doing things the way that you expect them to do, cat's away, the mice will play. One of my favorite reports is a DVI report. How many cars have we worked on? Okay. How many of those cars had a DVI assigned to it? Well, how many of those DVIs were completed? How many of them were sent to customers? And how many images? How many estimates? What is my ARO based on how many pictures I took? All of that on one report. It doesn't get much deeper dive than that to give yourself a real life look into how your business is operating and how possibly have an opportunity to improve.
Great. And with that, if you're ready to it, we'll open up some Q&A if you're good for that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the first question. Can a shop be successful without a shop management system?
It can. I mean, let's be honest. We've seen it. Shop's been in business for 30, 40 years. I don't think you run an unsuccessful business for that many decades, and they're doing it on pen and paper. The question is, how much higher could they go? Right? If you don't have certain resources, there's inherent limitations to what it is that you can accomplish. So if you're trying to grow, and again, whether that's net profit at the end of the month, whether that's car count, whether that's shop count, you want to open up a separate shop, taking a look at your business and how it's performing and where are your bottlenecks. You know, we're not saying that every shop, if you don't do it, you're gonna fall by the wayside and you're gonna close your doors in the next 5 years. That may not be the case at all, because again, you've done it for a long time the way that you have. But how much money is being left on the table? How much efficiency, time is being left on the table? How much information is being left on the table? We started it out with energy, time, and information, right? It's the energy that you invest with the information that you have that's going to give you more time. That's where that comes into play and really creates that point of separation from shops that do versus the shops that don't use a shop management system.
Gotcha. Thank you. Here's a question from a viewer. How can we figure out tech productivity faster and easier?
Oh, that's easy. There's a technician efficiency report built right in. It shows every car, not even every car, every job that a technician has worked on. So if you want to see your shop's efficiency, right, you want them to be at 120, 130% efficient. Well, you can see that in graphical representation per technician. Well, if you see one technician's quite a bit lower, you can filter it by that technician, go all the way down to every single job that they worked on and find out, well, was it just that one job that took them to task? They kind of bogged them down. And if that's the case, maybe it's a one-off. But if it's every single job, they're just not quite up to the efficiency standards that you expected, it allows you that visibility. The way I like to put it, it allows you to go from a 30,000 foot view to a 3-foot view real quick. How's the shop performing? What happened on this RO on this particular job? That's the technician efficiency side of it. And you can do that with multiple reports, but specifically with the efficiency, that's where it allows you to look at that very quickly.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. Can you matrix labor in the system automatically?
You can. 2 ways, actually. Number one, you can matrix your labor. 2, you can actually have a labor guide increase, meaning if the labor guide shows an hour and you have a 10% increase, it's going to bill it out at 1.1. However, you do have the ability to build in a labor matrix. If you want to make the nice bell curve, your core matrix is going to be, $125 an hour, your core rate, I should say. You can actually build it from anything from 0 to 0.5, 0.5 to 1, 1 to 1.5, or simplify it, say anything from 0 to 3 hours, anything from 3 to 6 and 6 to 9. You absolutely can create it's a labor guide markup or a labor matrix, or apply both. You can do all of that within it.
Great. Another question. What is the best way to communicate with TechMetric internally?
There's a number of ways.
Right, TechMetric.
Yeah, there's a number of ways. So there's some internal notes, and I say internal notes because that means they're not customer facing. So if you type in some notes, there's a little icon on the job board that turns from gray to blue, indicating that there is a note there. Everybody can see it. Everybody can view it except the customers. So you can leave notes back and forth. There are some notifications that get sent. For instance, if I have an estimate that was approved, I can have an email sent to me as a service writer says that Mr. Smith approved 2 out of 3 jobs. And if I open it up, it'll tell me which jobs it was. I can actually notify technicians via text message for when parts have arrived. So I can say, hey, your parts are here. You can have that technician send a text. There's also integrations that we have with Slack, which is the most common, or with Flock. And you can set up webhooks to say anytime an RO is open, anytime an RO is closed, anytime an RO is deleted, anytime a job is approved. And you can turn on which notifications that you would like. And the beauty of that is it's in and of itself a communication system. So you can have back and forth messages, but you can set up those automated messages as well with one of those integrations, and they're free to use.
Awesome. Let's see here. We've got some more questions. How do I know if my shop is big enough for a shop management system?
We have the individual owner, single person shops using our system. And we've got shops that, work on over 1,000 ROs a month. It's really not about the size. Quite frankly, for us, we actually have 3 different feature sets, meaning 3 different packages for customers to choose from. And they're designed for the smaller shop, the shop that's still growing, and the shop that's at full scale, if you want to think about it that way. It's not about the size of the shop. It's about what you want to get out of it. So when you have the most basic, you can write up all the ROs. You can utilize an appointment calendar, right? You can build estimates. You can send those estimates to your customers. So even if you are just starting out, absolutely, it's still a benefit for you as a shop owner to have a shop management system. You don't have to wait till you get to a certain threshold. That's what can help you get to that threshold, right? Chicken or the egg. Do I have to get here before I have a shop management system, or was that shop management system going to get me to that level? What we see quite often is having that shop management system allows you to grow to the level that you would think. You don't have to be at a minimum threshold.
Very good. We have a question about other positions within the shop. How easy is TechMetric to learn for my technicians?
The beauty of it is it's easy to learn for really everybody involved. And it kind of boils down to what are your technicians responsible for in the shop, right? If they're doing, I don't want to say just the digital vehicle inspection, but if that's their primary role is to inspect the vehicles and repair them, then they're going to need to know how to operate a digital vehicle inspection, in which case, if they can open a tablet and scroll through Amazon, then they can operate a digital vehicle inspection. If they're responsible for building the estimate, well, fantastic. They can open up a labor guide. They can open up parts integrations, makes it very easy for them as well. They are not required to have tablets. A lot of times technicians prefer their phone because if they're taking pictures on the DVI, it allows them to get into those smaller parts and they're comfortable on their phone. It's really dependent on the role that they have, but it's never going to be difficult for them to learn it. It is made as intuitively as possible. So for DVI, for building estimates, for running a job clock, that's a click. Turn it on and say start job. Turn it off when you're done. That's how the tech efficiency works. Makes it very, very simplistic. And if they can type in some notes, show what they did, they can add their findings. It does not take any type of intense training to learn.
Very good. Less training is always easier. I guess kind of related to that first question, we can get another one in here. How long does the transition take? And I'm guessing to transition into this a new shop management software.
So with us, what we typically see is, we'll go through the software demo, answer all the questions, whoever's involved, speak with each of them. From the day that a shop owner says yes to the day that they go live on TechMetrics, typically 2 to 3 weeks. That allows them time to trim down their old shop management system and open ROs. It allows them time to get shop settings set up, go through the training inside of TechMetric as well, whether that be the video training, reading the articles, again, setting up their shop, trimming down the old shop management system, minimizes what needs to come over in terms of a data migration, in which, yes, we can migrate data from other shop management systems inside of TechMetric. And then from there, day one, you're live. And typically, like we mentioned earlier, day one can be a little tough. Day two, not so bad. And by day five, it's going according to plan. So it's less than a month, typically 2 to 3 weeks from making the decision and actually saying yes to going live and utilizing it as the primary shop management system.
Excellent. And right with that, we have reached the top of the hour. That is great timing. That will conclude today's presentation. On behalf of Ratchet and Wrench, I want to thank you, John. Thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you, TechMetric, for putting this on and sponsoring today's event. And of course, thank you all viewing out there for joining us. I wish you all a great day. So thank you.
Thank you all.